Hey guys, welcome back.
Hi
How you going?
guys.
Good. How are you guys?
Well, thank you.
Good. Good. How about you? How about you down there, Dale? How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. It's we just got a heap of rain today. You
Oh,
probably
sweet.
yeah, we
Yeah.
always get Adelaide the day after, so
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
bucket
so
it down.
Yeah.
same.
We
It
had a
was
lot
so nice
yesterday over the
about
weekend.
it. Oh,
Oh,
you
you
did over the weekend?
Yeah, and yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So then we got yours and then you're getting ours. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Dale, what is happening in Victoria?
Oh, yes, we'll start off there.
Oh yeah, well it's pretty fresh. So I was just getting the
Mm.
updates on news.com today. It's about as far as my mainstream goes. But
All right,
I
fill us in.
did manage I had to drive out to a school today and I had they had YouTube going of the press conference. I listened to a bit of it.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there's they haven't. I don't think they've fully said lockdown yet, but they've said that I think there's 9 cases or something now in Melbourne. So if you looked at what's been happening in Australia the last couple of months, like Perth had one, and then Sydney had one. So but I don't think they've announced it yet, but I would say they probably will. So
Okay.
it's going to
So
be yeah.
you said, so was it just 9 cases all of a sudden today? They just announced
They
that.
said yesterday there was 4 or something. There was one family, and then they announced one more this morning, and then they announced another 4 in the afternoon.
Really? Okay. Because I know Dale.
So they've used the number 9 too, which is interesting.
Oh yes, yeah, very true. Because you've been saying for a while you think that Victoria should do another lockdown because you want it just to prove a point.
I'm like, it doesn't sound nice, but like I was like, come on, lock us down. And it's a little bit of a selfish thing too, because I want to see the public reaction to it.
Yeah.
Well, too, and there is like this big this sort of worldwide march, Australia-wide march that's happening on Saturday too.
Okay.
Right.
So I felt like because last year in Victoria, like that, there was really starting to get some resistance, and then we needed one more lockdown, I swear, and it was around September, and then they've held off since then, and then they've been doing these little ones in each city for a few days. So it'd be interesting to see how far Melbourne's sort of progressed or grown up, I guess, since September last year.
Yeah, but I mean, when
And
you
like
think
people I know that I'm speaking to at work that like they don't know, have no idea what's going on, but that people have had enough of it. Do you know what I mean?
right,
That's
yeah.
what I'm
So
noticing.
they've actually said they're sick of it and they would.
Yeah, I talk to people every day that have no idea about the agenda, nothing, don't know what's going on, but they're like, this is bullshit, which is good.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, 9 cases, it's ridiculous. I mean, how many people get the flu every winter? I mean, thousands, hundreds, thousands. Do you know what I mean? So 9 cases. So we've just gotten used to now. Oh, 9 cases seems like a lot in media, but it's ridiculous. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Victoria, but it's been a bit different here in SA. I know, David, you had another lockdown recently. We spoke about that, I think, last time we spoke to you. I think Sydney had a mini lockdown. I spoke to my best friend up there a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about it wasn't like a full out sort of lockdown. It was more of a like just weird things with masks, but it was strange. It was like you could go into a like a bar or something, but you could only sit down. You couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
And it was just weird rules like that. And waiters had to wear masks, but not the patrons in cafes and just things like that. And then again, of course, the children are exempt from wearing the mask because they're immune to it all, which is contrary to what's going on in the States. I know that there's plenty of schools that had kids wearing masks, and the ones that weren't were singled out, and they had to have yellow dots on their forehead or something like that, something stupid like that.
Yeah.
So it's very inconsistent across the board, across the whole world, really, isn't it? So, but down here, what we've got at the moment is, and it's probably the same with you guys, I'm guessing, but in SA, we've got these QR code, tracking things that are going on. So every single store or beauty salon, anywhere you go, basically, pub, club, everywhere, you have to hold your phone up, do the old thingo.
But I think
And they've really cracked down on
They
people
have.
watching you do that.
they
Yeah.
actually ask you now when you go in, have you done your scanning in? Like they'll ask you that, and you have to stand on specific dots on the ground in stores and things like that.
Like
So,
you're a child, you know, in a parade or something, and you need to be organized, you know, just like back when you're in primary school. It's
But
like,
do you
stand
guys-
here, kiddies, you know, it's
Yeah.
like that. It's treating you like just, well, animals really. So yeah.
do you guys have that level of like tracking and kind of restriction with the QR codes?
David, what about in Perth?
It's really relaxed here. So
You think,
I
hey,
I took a couple of days, break, and I went to a hotel and didn't get asked to do it when I got there. Was at a couple of restaurants and watched people come in and literally just go there. And it's quite normal for some people. They just go in, take the phone out, do it, and then they go sit down. But I'm just sitting there looking at them and just going, what the hell are you doing that for? And it's interesting. But even though they've got the codes all over the shops, no one really enforces it yet. So
really? Okay.
yeah.
Well,
I have signed in a couple of times, but
Have you?
Yeah, because there's a person who's just the whole job is just to make sure people do it. So it was either have an argument or do the code or sign in. So I just did a fake name. But after speaking to Dale last time, I was like, we shouldn't be doing that either. We should just be saying no. We're not having any of it. And so if it comes up again, then I'll just, because there's some stuff going out on social media about our rights to privacy and under certain codes that I can't remember, like the Biosecurity Act and stuff like that, different sections. So if you cite that and also cite some stuff underneath that where it says that if they coerce you or force you to do something against your will, then they could be up for a fine of a couple of $1,000 or $3,000 or something, then maybe they'll back down. So I think it's probably a good idea that we all get armed with that information.
Yeah, that's a good point, David.
Yeah, that is a good point. A few people have made comments to us in our comments section that, potentially is against the law. And that it doesn't seem to be like this in other places of the world that we've had comments from. Nobody seems to be going, oh, we've got that too. It seems to be an
Except
Australian
in the
thing.
UK.
Well, I think, places here and there seem to have it, but a lot of places, people that have commented to us, to our videos, don't seem to have it. So
and they've said to us, how did you guys let it get to that point? Like they're like, oh my God, like that's ridiculous. So it's bad. It's bad. But then, I mean, you've got the government enforcing the fines as well. So, the business gets a $5,000 fine apparently, and then the customer gets what is it, $1,200 or $1,500?
I think. Yeah. They're
so many blurred lines. Like it's just crazy.
Trying to fear people into it, and obviously doing what they can to put small business into difficult positions. Yeah. Finding them $5,000. That's probably quite a lot for some small businesses to have to pay out if they do get fined. So what about you, Dale, where you are? Do you have this situation going on with the tracking?
To be honest, I don't I go in. I mean, I don't go out that much, but like when I do, I never really get pressured. So the odd place, they just like go, oh, you got a QR code, and I'm like, oh, my friend will do it or whatever. Like that, or half the time they'll have it on the table, and you just don't do it, and they don't ask.
Yeah.
So I've never had to. But interesting, my work the other week, they're like, oh, we've had another security breach. They kept doing these last year. I'm like, oh, bullshit. Let's see what this is. And then so you've got to shut your computer down, and then you start your computer back up, and it says you have to QR code to get into my computer. And I was sitting there in the room. I said, I'm not freaking doing that. This is bullshit. And then so I was able to do it to go in through another email. But interesting, it didn't even want my work email. It wanted mine.
That's weird.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
and so just stuff like that. But they're forced. So like my work, I have to go in the morning. I'm supposed to freaking tent my head, which I would never do. But it's like watching a bloody sci-fi movie. I'm walking in, everyone's like queued up, and they're like.
So hold on, what do you do then?
You have to write down what your temperature is when you come in the morning, because if you're over whatever, I don't know, I just write 35 every day and then give them that. But like I'm actually going to ask them tomorrow, because I have to they want to know when I'm in the office, when I leave, and I've already been reported for not writing my name down. Whereas,
So,
but you know,
that's
this invasiveness, like, why is Australia so bad too? But like, we've always led the way with like smart meters, these body scanners at the airports.
Yeah.
Everything, you know, except for like maybe like China and South Korea and Japan and stuff like that. Australia's right up there with the technology grid, surveillance grid.
Yeah.
What about
Sorry.
the jab, Dale? Are you forced to get that at your work?
No, and like, yeah, I really don't. If they try to mandate that, then you're going to see real backlash, because I mean, I know nurses that have had it and said they have to have it. But besides that, my mum worked in a health place as well too. They've been told to have it a while back, but they haven't. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think, was it you said that was 70?
I don't know. I think I read something that it said 86% of workplaces would either make it mandatory or I think they said would definitely enforce, not enforce, sorry, highly suggest that you would have to.
Well, they've said they want 100% of Australians vaccinated by the end of the year. So how are you going to get 100% unless you force people?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's right. Yeah. I mean, it seems to be that we are hearing reports that those jab hub things are not too busy at all. So,
yeah, David,
and didn't you go to one just to check it out, David?
No, I haven't done it yet, but apparently
I'm going tomorrow. I'm going tomorrow. I'll try and get some video footage of it.
Yeah, do it.
Apparently the one near me has like the highest uptake though. I think it was like 34% of, so it's like 34,000 out of every 100,000 people that live in the area. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, apparently it's the highest one, the most successful one in the city.
Wow. I'm sure that's made up. Actually, we went to a coffee shop today, and front page of the newspaper here had what was it? It was like, John just handed it over to me. I think it said SA or South Australia leading the way for regional areas getting the jab. So I was like, oh, isn't that amazing? We're leading the way for that.
It said
all the cases they have out there.
Yeah, the first state to offer the jab to people as young as 16.
Oh, sorry, as young as 16. Yeah. And then, do you have the picture there? That there's a couple of people on the front, and I'm pretty sure there's one person there holding their stomach, so she's pregnant. I mean,
we think
it looks as if it's that way. I couldn't really tell. Julie's like, oh, I'm not sure. And I said, you don't hold your stomach like that unless you're pregnant. So I don't know. It was a disturbing image. These four, relatively youngish people on there, and that was the front page of the paper today. So they really are still trying to push this agenda and fearing people into it. And we know that's what they're trying to do. We know that old mate ScoMo, the Prime Minister here, he's trying to, bring out this narrative about the interstate jab passports. We've heard about that, like saying people need it just to even stay. I'm not sure if that's just if you travel by aircraft, or if it's okay if you go in your own car, or I'm not too sure. But I guess when you get to the border or whatever, they will ask you for your jab passport. That's the whole plan, I suppose. But again, we've got to keep reminding ourselves that these are really fear tactics. We do have to keep getting this information out as much as we can, because we have to keep pulling away at this.
But what about, did you guys hear about in Israel? Apparently they don't have the jab passports anymore. I think it happened yesterday. I know, Dale, you've been posting quite a bit about Israel. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I did. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, I have seen people posting saying that they're rolling that back.
Yes,
which that's good. So,
yes, and
but of all the countries,
and I think it was the same in Sweden as well.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't hear that. But I think also Janine, she did a video. I think it might have been today or yesterday. And also when we spoke to her recently, she did mention 6 weeks, keeps coming up, 6 weeks in the cards. And that kind of takes us into July. And that there'll just be like a complete sort of switch around, that this jab passport stuff's going to disappear like almost kind of overnight. And also, what did she say? It would be the countries that were most affected by the like the really heavy restrictions like Australia, like Canada, UK and whatnot. So and that they would follow suit on from Israel. So I really feel like that's a really good image to have in your head. You know, everyone start visualizing that, because obviously we want all this stuff to disappear around the jab passports, jab, blah, blah. But yeah, they'll keep pushing it in MSM as long as they can, I suppose, so that people,
so they can get as many people
as they can to get across the line.
Try and scare them into it. And David, what were you saying about the Q calendar in relation to Israel? Do you want to talk about that?
I don't really follow them, but all I know is that they always said that Israel was going to be last, and this is something that Dale and I have spoken a bit about, you know, a couple of days ago, and we basically, you know, we don't know, nobody knows really what's going on, but if it is last, we kind of came to the realization that we don't know how long it will last for, you know, like maybe it'll be a couple of weeks, maybe it could be a couple of months, or longer even. But if that is true and we are seeing some stuff in Israel, then hopefully that's the beginning of the end, right?
Well, didn't they say May 20th was the end date?
That particular group. I'm sorry, I said the thing before. I said the letter. So we'll have to get rid of that. But that particular group, it was the end of their calendar or their timeline. So once we started seeing things in Israel, you know, resurface, that would sort of signify the end, beginning of the end. So I think this is probably a good sign from our feeling, from our summation of it. So, and definitely if this is true that they are going to be dropping, you know, stuff around the jab and whatnot, that's pretty good news, because you would think that we would probably follow suit after that, being one of these countries that's in, you know, probably a bit more of an awkward position than some others.
Yeah, well, they picked all the Five Eyes countries, didn't they? So that's like that's the intelligence sharing network of Australia, Israel, UK, New Zealand, Canada. Like, I don't know how they're obviously like the most affected country.
Okay, so Dale, I wanted to ask you about the video that you put out recently. That was a rather interesting one, wasn't it? The subject matter was very interesting, and I know you got a lot of views on that one. Do you want to talk a bit about that and how that sort of came about and what the reaction's been?
Yeah, so I made that video a year ago, and I was going to post it then, but I just thought, I'm going to cop a lot of backlash over this. Some people could see it as slander. So basically, it's just a list of people in Australia, VIP people that are into some sort of seedy stuff. Nonces, I think you call them. So I just put that. The reason I did it was I was going to post a year ago, and I'm like, I was got a bit scared. And the other day, I'm like, oh, bugger it. Like, if this, like, you know, if people see this, maybe like they'll start looking into it more. Maybe one of the people on that list might see it and get a little bit. Because I did put a guy on there. I think I got triggered the other week about the Bert Newton story about him losing his leg.
Yeah, that's right.
He's on that list along with a couple other people that worked with him on Channel 9, Channel 10, pretty famous.
So just to clarify for anyone watching this that doesn't know who B. Newton is, he's a former TV host, a very big TV host here in Australia in the past. He used to host shows like Good Morning Australia and things like that, and Tonight shows as well. He's also big in the theatre world. So it was pretty disturbing to see the likes of him on that list. And I know that he's apparently got an amputated leg, and his wife, Patty, she has also been seen on a lot of magazine covers in this past couple of weeks wearing a moon boot, which is an interesting thing. What's your take on that?
It's unbelievable. Me and David were talking about on the day. I'm like, I can't believe, because I've been telling people about Bert Newton for years, and like for people like you probably got listeners in America and stuff like that. Yeah,
all over the place. So we'll try and keep it relevant for them.
So he's massive in Australia. He'd be like, I don't know what be the equivalent to. He used to host like the equivalent of like the Emmys or the Oscars, right, in Australia, for years.
Maybe you wouldn't say he was a Letterman, but no, probably as big as that for here.
In terms of everyone, it was in the entertainment, and he actually did a eulogy to another man who's also on that video on the list, who's been accused of the same stuff. and also was accused of palming his own son off to this guy, who's another entertainment.
Oh wow,
narrative.
okay.
And his son became a very famous actor as well too. And then he had his Matthew Newton had his big breakdown.
Yeah.
But the point I was getting to was at the Logies, which is like a big awards night for entertainment.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Emmys for anyone listening that doesn't know. Yeah.
So he did a speech or a eulogy to Graham Kennedy, and he went up there and he just blatantly said, and this is about like putting the truth in plain sight. They do this sort of stuff, but it shows their arrogance too. And he says, Graham Kennedy really liked nurturing young talent. He goes, in fact, if you went to his room and the door was locked, you knew he was nurturing some young talent. He said that.
I remember him.
Just people just laughed. Yeah.
They all laughed. I remember at the time I was like, oh my God, he just like, they're basically saying, we know what he is and everyone else knows what he is. Like, this is
I remember seeing that.
Yeah. But that's what they do. That's what they do. They put it in your face and they take the karma off of themselves. We know that this is how they operate. Just to let people know, Graham Kennedy, he was another TV host in Australia, big time. Again, up to that sort of perhaps comparable to your Jay Leno's or your Letterman's, those kinds of people, did Tonight shows, things like that. And very funny person. Like, people loved him. They really loved these guys' work. I mean, they were funny guys back in the day, for people that can remember them. So some disturbing stuff, isn't it? In that
and
video.
Don Lane was on there. They were like a trio, those three, for years.
Yeah.
And he was reported that he was under investigation for doing things with children, and that's why he fled back to America.
Right.
Okay. Yes, because he's American. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was the significance around the amputated leg, Dale? What did you say?
Well, yeah, I mean, it can mean a lot of things too, but it is a Freemason homage. And whether he lost his leg or not, I don't know. He probably did. Who knows? He hasn't been seen in public. The whole story is probably bogus, but it's the symbology of the story. And so the one leg means the person is in on it. So that would mean Bert is in on whatever they're trying to play. Now, if that's his own downfall, that means that he has agreed.
Right. Okay.
Based on symbology, right, of the one leg or the missing leg, which to me, it's interesting. Like, you could look at that in a lot of ways, but the way I interpreted that was that he squealed.
Okay. And what about his wife with her moon boot? How does that relate to it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know the moon boots. It was unbelievable that they would put that story up, and people that know about Bert know that was quite interesting. And then the fact that she comes out with a moon boot, like, I mean, like, the moon boot really goes back to when John McCain was supposedly got bitten by his dog, and then he had the moon boot, and then he died a month later. And we've seen a lot of these moon boots. So who knows?
Yeah. There was a lot of creepy individuals on that on your list. Yeah. What were you going to say? Sorry.
A lot of them too. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Keep going.
I was just going to say the last point was a lot of them are politicians, but a lot of them are judges. That's the most important bit, and particularly I can't remember if I even put him in there, but James Wood, who actually ran the Wood Royal Commission into police corruption, but it was into a ring, a child abuse ring, operating out of Sydney, and he was the judge that ran the Royal Commission, and he's on that list.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
there
there was
they cover all angles.
Yeah, we're about to run out of time on this particular session of this. But there was no words to that video, were there? Just images on that video.
I did. Everybody knows the song.
Yeah. Well, that was the sound, but you didn't speak on there. You didn't put any names. You just put the images of the people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should list some links down there actually so people can have a read about these particular.
So having a few technical issues, but this is all Mercury retrograde, isn't it?
Well, Dale said that it's more intense, a few days before, because I know it's on the 29th. So that's Saturday.
Yeah.
So what is it? Tuesday.
Yeah. So we're ramping up. So Yeah, they're throwing it all at us, this retrograde. So it's okay. The best thing to do when you have technical issues is to not get too frustrated, because this is what the AI does. They like to really, they like to see people angry. This is why people always get angry at the computer.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have you gotten angry at the computer in your life? Like, honestly,
it's true though.
Pretty much every time you're on a computer, don't you just get a bit like cranky, frustrated? It just does.
I got suspended at school for punching a computer screen for that reason.
What the? Did you actually break it? Like, did you?
No, I didn't break it, but I
Hilarious.
And when was this?
Oh, this was just before I got expelled when I was about 16. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the story's for another day. It's a little bit. Sometimes you just want to do a bit of Elvis and shoot the TV.
I was going to say Elvis shot the TV, so
I think he was right on the money when he shot the TV back then. So I'd like to do that. The best I've done is thrown a TV off of. Yeah, no. It doesn't. Okay, I led that story up the garden path, I think. No, Mum and Dad were cleaning out their house. No, they were moving out of their old house. This is years ago. And we had a very old-fashioned 60s or 50s television. Like, people used to always give us TVs. I tell you what,
like old ones that
old
didn't
ones,
work.
yeah.
Like they had sound and no vision, or they had vision and no sound. So
like, whenever people were getting rid of TVs, like when the time we were growing up, they would always give them to us. So we had like a million. I don't know why. We had a million TVs like around the house. Not even joking.
We look like we need a TV.
Maybe. Someone gave us another one the other day. One of our neighbours gave us a free TV. Anyways, so I
They're trying to pull you back to the dark side.
I think they are. Anyway, so we were doing some cleaning up for Mum and Dad's house, and I remember throwing my dad just couldn't do it. I was like, it's all right, I'll do it, and I threw this TV off the back of the ute. So that's as good as I've gotten. I didn't shoot the TV like Elvis or punch a screen, Dale, but I threw it off.
Was it one of those ones where you had to turn the knob?
Yes.
Oh yeah. This one actually,
we had to actually hit it to make the sound work.
That's right.
Can I tell you a real super quick one? I've got to tell you.
Yeah.
My grandfather, this was like their first color TV or whatever, right? And he had those, the flicky, knobby, old school. He must have had it for decades.
Yeah.
And then he died, and then we went around to like clean his house out the next day, and the TV stopped working. So he'd had it for like 45 years. And
Yeah, that's significant.
Cool.
Use that, yeah. Those sorts of signs that you get. Now, speaking of signs, we wanted to share a bit of a story just off the back of your video that you put together, Dale, in regards to those people that you named in the list. There was one person on the list, Don Burke. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, obviously people in Australia know, but he was another TV host. Now, he hosted like a backyard gardening type show, and it was very, very popular, like back in would have been the 90s, I would think. Yeah. So we were all young, obviously, but we all remember it. Like it was one of those things that people used to put on Friday nights. You turn on Burke's Backyard. That was the show. Anyway, and he used to also interview celebrities on there. It became a thing where he'd go through their house and look at their garden, and it was a big time show. I think he launched a couple of people's careers off of that show as well, that went on to do other gardening and reno shows. Anyhow, the story that we have is a while ago, like when we were young, there was this boy band that we liked, and they were playing at the entertainment center, and we went to the concert, and we found out, like overheard that the band, we wanted to go meet the band, right? And we found out that they were staying at a certain hotel in the city. Well, someone told us that they were staying at this hotel. Whether they were or not, I don't know, because we never actually got to meet them. Anyway, so we were
very young.
Oh, very young, maybe like 15, 16. And we've got Mum to drive us up to this hotel in the city. So Mum had to like double park out front of Government House. There was no parking zone, right? Poor thing had to wait in the car for like an hour while we went into this hotel.
Searching for the band.
When we say a hotel, we mean accommodation hotel, like a proper 5-star hotel. Anyway, so we go in there, we're loitering around, and we don't meet the band, but Don Burke comes out, and he's got his crew there, some of his crew members. And we got to talking with Don.
A couple of people, him and a couple of his like
Yeah.
I don't know, cameraman or something like
Yeah.
that.
And at the time I sort of had aspirations. I wanted to do, media communications degree when I went on to do uni, which is what I ended up doing. And I was telling him all about it. And I think I was trying to get a job from him and, set myself up for going forward and everything. And it was like relatively like pleasant and everything. We're having these big discussions.
Nice.
Anyway, then we got into this situation where he was like, well, why don't you girls come down tomorrow? We're filming a story with these dogs.
A dog walking story.
Why don't you girls come down and be in the piece? And we're like,
yeah, okay.
It's like a big TV show, national TV show. Like, okay, so we run out to Mum. So Mum, we're going to be on Burke's Backyard tomorrow, all the rest of it.
And she's like, what?
For Mum, it's like midnight, Anyway, so next day, get up. And I think we must have had their contact details, I think. Anyway, so we go to leave the house and Mum's car doesn't start, right? Can't get going at all. Our grandfather lives around the corner from us back in the day, and he wasn't home. So normally we would have borrowed his car. He had a pretty new car. Our car was a bit older at the time. He had a pretty new car. I thought, yeah, we'll borrow his car. No, he wasn't available. So
we basically couldn't get there. Like there was no way of us being able to get to this dog walking segment.
Yeah. So then I had to call up Don, and I remember him going, "Hello, Carly, how are you?" This was his tone, his voice. I still remember it in my ear now. And I said, "Look, really sorry, Don, we can't come down. Mum's car's broken down." It would have sounded fully like we made it up, but we actually didn't. It was a real story.
The reason why we're telling this story.
Yeah, so we didn't end up going to this piece, right? But carry on. So we don't talk over each other.
The reason we're telling this story is because we wanted to point out the importance of signs. That was obviously a big sign. And at the time we sort of felt a bit weird. Yeah. But, we probably would have still went along.
Because we thought it was an innocent sort of thing, which it may well have been, but knowing what we know now, especially you released this video
and being
the other day.
so young as well, you just kind of do things for opportunity and things like that. But we wanted to just point out that things that are kind of forcing you back like that, maybe just take note.
Yeah.
So it's just a little story for the audience too. If things like that are showing up.
Cool though, because who knows what marker point that might have been in your life? Maybe shit that stopped you from something possibly really bad happening, or
that's right.
That's the point we're trying to make.
And I think even at the time when we were looking at it from even a couple of days after, I think we're kind of like, I don't really think we were meant to go to that. That was just kind of weird. We had a bit of a weird feeling as well, even back then, and we were quite young, So there's definitely signs within signs, right? So you have to take note of these things.
Yeah, that's the point we're trying to make. So that was the story. Luckily, it wasn't any worse. I know it was a pretty tame story, but still, it as you said, it could have ended up not too good. So we're proud of ourselves, I guess, for listening to that sign and not, moving hell and earth to get there to get on this show, because it really, at the end of the day, didn't mean anything. One dog walking segment, the car probably saved our life there. So so that was the story.
But I suppose it's moments like that a lot of celebrities kind of got into what they got into. You know? And speaking of celebrities, David, we wanted to speak to you about the Altian video again, because
the X Factor winner video.
Altian Childs. Did you see that one, Dale?
Yeah, I reckon David looks a little bit like him. What do you reckon?
With a rock star,
the long hair going.
Yeah, I did see it.
Yeah, because I remember we spoke. Well, when we did our last chat with David, you had sent us that video. And at the time, it only had 20,000 views, and now it has 1 million almost. So
wow.
A lot of people have posted it and reposted it, and there's so much stuff in there, and kind of shocking stuff as well. So we were shocked by some of it.
Yeah. What did you? I know that you spoke to Janine, Tarot by Janine, about that video. Did she? What did she say in regards to that? Do you want to share a little bit about that? Because I know you said you were feeling a bit weird. We were all feeling weird after we saw it. Had that strange kind of vibe.
I was still a little bit depressed on that video that I did with Janine. I think, I don't know if it was because of that video, but it could have been. It might have just been a combination of things. But basically, I wanted her to look into it to see if it was cursed, because someone in my circle said that they thought there was a spell on it, and all those people in that group all said they, except for one, were all depressed as well. So I was like, that's a bit weird. And she looked into it, and there's nothing wrong with it. And the guy is genuine, and he's really putting his life on the line.
Yeah, for sure.
And Janine reckons that it's maybe because of the because they talk a lot about the oaths and stuff that they take, you know, how he reads them out, and maybe, I don't know, maybe that had an influence over us, or because I wasn't super surprised by a lot of that stuff, you know, but yeah, maybe it was just the sheer length of it, and yeah, just absorbing it all.
And I think it was because, it was just, you know, all there, a lot of it in images, all there for you to just see. And I think it's because a lot of people that you were sort of maybe questioning, and you just thought, oh, nah, they're still good or whatever. And then they're shown, and you're like, now there's nowhere to hide from the truth. You know, it's all just there to see. I guess, you know, maybe similar to your video, Dell, and just having it all in images, it's just really right there in your face, isn't it? And you just can't deny it anymore, you know. And yeah, well, I think we're in like a time frame where we're really having to just like have to deal with all these old belief systems, and they're kind of all getting shattered all at one time. And I feel for people that aren't awake to anything, because I wouldn't know how that would feel like being in that position. So I suppose the next step of this whole process is going to kind of be, I guess, in a way, helping people through content, or I don't know how people are going to be helped through this process, but it is quite shocking. Do you guys feel shocked I mean, I don't get shocked by many things, really. Do you guys feel shocked by any of the stuff that you have seen? And do you feel like an uncomfortableness within yourselves around any of this stuff, and you're having to make your own adjustments about your own beliefs?
I might share the one I was talking to you about the other night, David.
That one?
Because I was talking about this with David the other day, and I said, and no, I don't really get shocked, and that's because I was reading about like MK Ultra and satanic ritual abuse when I was a teenager, and I think you become a bit desensitized to that sort of stuff. I get more shocked by like Mandela effect stuff like that. It's sort of like that stuff gobsmacks me more. But like I did this video last year on online child, you know, like the syndicate and that. So like I spent like an entire week or a couple of weeks, and I probably spent about 20 hours of just watching, like researching child online, you know. And I kept going, no, it doesn't affect me. And then I end up doing an interview talking about it, and I just freaking burst out crying after it. Like it was just this mass release.
Wow,
and I think that really affected me more than, not so much, I don't know, some things affect you and some don't, but that it just reached a peak point, because that stuff's really so disgusting.
Yeah.
That it actually had a really big effect on me. But then, like, I think I sort of got over that as well too.
And the thing is, like, Dale, you have done some really great research on that kind of stuff, and it's really heavy. And I think you've done a really great job at that. And I think it probably has been quite hard on you. And in that moment, you sort of felt like you had to release your emotions.
Different things trigger different people, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
But that could have a lot to do with where we're at right now. And I know we've spoken with both of you about this, and we'll start with you, David, on this. But the ascension symptoms that we've all been experiencing, and that's what we've referred to it as. We've all been feeling a bit weird, a bit odd. Especially this past couple of weeks, it's really ramped up. I know we've spoken to you about it, David. You've had some symptoms of your own. We have, Dale, even you've mentioned it as well. Do you think it might be tied into that, Dale, that's why you broke down now? I mean, you could have broken down other times. You've done plenty of videos, you've done lots of research, but this is when it came out, because you're probably really getting to this point now where you really are ascending up to this point, and your body is getting to that point. So it's kind of giving you that moment, that choice now. Do you ascend, or do you go backwards? So maybe that's the way why that emotion came out. Yeah,
and I think like the Saturn retrogrades, that's part of it too, because that's like drawing back on the last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, everything that happens in your life they're all little stepping points for you to learn or know more. And like you probably talk about this, Dave, because I know you were telling me you had like a lot of symptoms. I know last year I had one where something said in my head that my brain had flipped, and I actually felt I felt it was like the left and the right side of my brain actually flipped, and I was in my bed, and it felt like my entire body was spinning. Like not my head, but the entire, like Exorcist sort of style. Like I wasn't spinning, but I felt the motion of, and I've heard other people have had that as well too. So, but it's like a release sort of thing. Maybe
Yeah.
you tell Dave, because you said you've had some weird sort of stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, I had last Saturday a week and a half ago. I had a crazy one. So when I was like 13, I had this bad skateboarding injury. I injured my shoulder really bad twice. Didn't break anything, but I was in so much pain that day that my vision started to go all fuzzy, my hearing, I had this high-pitched noise in my ears. I just couldn't really, I had to, sit down. And last Saturday, basically, I was just sitting here doing some work, and all of a sudden I noticed my shoulder. I'd noticed that shoulder like in the week leading up to this as well. It was kind of sore, but yeah, I was just sitting here, and all of a sudden that whole feeling came back where I had to kind of put my head down, and my vision went all weird, and my hearing started to go strange. And when I could actually lift my head up again, I went to lie down, and it just got even worse. Like this high-pitched hissing noise, like I can still hear it now. Like this has to stop but it's just not as loud. And it's this high-pitched hissing noise has got really like a lot louder. And then I heard what sounded like a plane flying over the house, like literally right over the top. And I don't live anywhere near an airport. And then kind of went away. But ever since then, it's just been hissing. But yesterday I got back from the gym and I could feel it again, like my shoulder. And I felt this really odd sensation. I was just sitting here trying to do some work, and it actually felt like I was levitating or flying. I just felt so weird. But I was just like looking at my computer screen, and it was just like, it didn't last that long, maybe a couple of minutes. But I felt like maybe I was about to have another thing happen, something bigger. But it's so strange.
That's a crazy story.
Wow.
You get a lot of ringing in the ears.
Yeah, I've had it since about 2016 personally. So I think it's probably got a lot to do with this galactic energy business that's been happening. It's on and off. It's just, and like exactly how you described, a little bit sort of hissing, and sometimes it's louder and sometimes it's not. And some days I don't have it at all. But when I do get it, sometimes it might go on for, sometimes a week, maybe more. And I've tried to work it out loads of times. I thought, is it when I'm more stressed? Is it, maybe when, old things resurface in my life? Is it when is someone thinking about me? Am I thinking about that person? Is it the correlation there? I've tried to work it out in that way, but I think it wasn't until we spoke to our friend Joseph E. Anthony, who's an astrologer, he kind of really clarified that for me. And knowing that these galactic energies have been coming, and we're heading towards this alleyway of light at the moment in the Milky Way, it makes sense as to why we'd be feeling having certain physiological reactions. And the other night, I actually, I haven't had so much that hissing thing lately. It's on and off. It's always kind of there, but I've had a lot of piercing sounds, like a real piercing. And, when I'm trying to sort of go to sleep, quite often I'll notice it. I think it's probably at night because you're more relaxed. During the day, you're doing things, there's a lot more noises around, but you notice it more at night. And I've had that a couple of times. I haven't had great sleeps the past sort of week or so. And then the other morning I got up and I full on, like, I'm a very balanced person. Like, I've done a lot of sports and athletics and that sort of thing. I've got a lot of good balance. And I got up and I walked like wobbled into the wall like 3 times when I was going out of my room. I was that dizzy. So I keep getting dizzy, a lot of dizziness. And I know you've had dizziness as well, but it's like not just lightheaded dizzy, which I'll get sometimes. It was like full on banging into a wall, sort of, like someone, if you were acting that you were drunk or something like that. It was exactly like that. I was like, oh my God, what? Carly, get a grip of yourself. What's going on here? So yeah, there are some very strange physiological responses that I think we're all having right now. And it's interesting to share them all because we're all having different ones, but we're all having them at the same time. So
I personally, I've had the dizziness as well. Not very much, just like one night I was really dizzy, and I never get dizzy. Like, I'm not really that sort of person. But the things that I've noticed the most for myself is I used to be like such an overthinker, like a chronic overthinker, analyze everything. And I don't know, like these days, it's probably been the last 6 months, but probably specifically the last 2 months, I just find myself getting like I'll get really almost like my breathing goes funny and my anxiety is quite bad. But I almost feel like it's doing that because it's forcing me to be someone who's just really so much more mindful and just more grounded and just really almost like not thinking at all much anymore. I'm just doing and being a lot more. And it kind of feels like weird, but also at the same time, a place that I really needed to reach to sort of maybe take myself to the next level of ascension, because I was just always up in my head, and that I found that really difficult in my life. So now I just feel like if I was to continue doing that heady stuff, I would just literally be like out of control, anxious all the time.
Stressful.
And yeah, like I wouldn't be able to manage my life the way I used to do it, like just analyzing everything. So now I just kind of be as I am and kind of flow a lot more in the day. I don't really question things. I don't really think about tomorrow as much or yesterday as much. I just continue to roll because it's like I have to. Like my body can't do that anymore. So
and finding the good things.
It's like a force. It's like I feel like I'm literally getting pushed in the back all the time.
But also finding the good things in every moment. Like it's not. I think in the past we've been very conditioned to, always look forward to things. Oh,
what's the next thing? What's the next thing?
When I get my holidays at work, I'll go to Bali or I'll take a trip, or it's that kind of conditioning, and you're only allowed to have that week off or those 2 weeks off, and then you've got to go back to the crap again. That's how we've been conditioned. So I think we've had to get ourselves out of that. We've really worked a lot on that, haven't we, Julia, this past
I think just like
year or so,
finding the the appreciation in just the little things that you'd be too busy to do before, and just being, like I said, it's like a push in the back all the time. And every time I go into that mind stuff, it's like I literally get pushed to stop. So I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I'm not allowed to.
That's a physical attitude, though. That's a great attitude too. And I think when you're more like that, that's when the synchronicities start. I know for me, when the synchronicities are coming in, you're on track. Don't you? Like, and when they're not coming in, why as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Why do you think
I'll say to David the other day too, like, because you said about just enjoying the moment. Because like we were having a chat the other day, and I'm like, you actually got to wake up in the morning and go, holy shit! Like, how amazing is it that we chose to come here at this time?
Of all the time, we could have taken ourselves off the earth plane a year ago, or 2 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
I also feel like a sort of, and like you said, Dale, when you wake up, you just kind of feel like, oh my gosh, and it's this sort of feeling that I kind of get now. It's almost like water washing over me, as in this like calmness that I should be feeling amidst all this stuff. So I do feel that quite often. Like I just feel this like just water around.
Do you feel guilty for being calm when there's so much chaos going on too? So I know I've felt that before.
Oh, really? Have you? No, because I mean, I feel like I've been very awake like since I was 7, and but I just didn't know how to deal with all that back then, like when I was little, and that's why I think I became such an overthinker. And no, I don't feel guilty because I feel like we're all here doing what we're doing to help keep hold the light and shine like light on the truth. So I think that we have to be like standing strong in that, and like a big light post, I suppose, for everyone that isn't able to cope with this. So if we weren't doing that, then what would everyone be doing? So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm saying
and you've done the work. You've gotten yourself to a point where you can be calm, whereas people that haven't, they don't have that right now. It takes a lot of work. It's not easy.
It does, and I think if you're like embodying that and projecting that out, that's kind of like water, calm, like not water, but that calmness and that sort of everything's okay, everything's going to be okay. If you're projecting that out, then people are going to pick that up, right? And there's not a lot of people, I would say, projecting that out. So I think if I'm doing anything, it's that I'm trying to do that. Well, I'm not allowed to say try. I'm doing that.
But the commitment that you've made to, or that we've made to do that, is to trying.
Someone said that to us, the comment,
Yeah.
like, stop saying try.
Is to
do or don't. There's no try.
Is to eliminate as many distractions that we've had in the past. So that includes everything from TV, you know, there's social media, there's everything. There's people in your life. Maybe it's friends, maybe it's family. There's a lot of distractions that we've had, even movies, that sort of thing. It was designed to take you out of that space, so we couldn't have the connection to those synchronicities. We couldn't connect in with those things. And you were talking about synchronicities before. That's why all those distractions were there. That's why we've had that. Why do you think the news exists? It's to take you out of that space. It's to put you into that fear space, so you can't connect in with your own intuition. And that's what, you know, doing these videos are really all about for us, is helping people to start really connecting in with their own thoughts. It was what that Don Burke story was about. It was about that sign, that symbol, that intuition that you have to go with, that no, we're not meant to do this.
And I think also, I've not, like, when I heard about all the projection stuff, I probably wasn't really that aware of it, but how much you're getting stuff just put onto you just through watching a program, and just people in general. And I think that's made myself stronger in that I just want to project out what I've got to offer, which is like light. You know, I feel like that's my purpose, and that's what I have to do right now. And forever, like, that's always what I felt like I had to do. But I think I got swallowed up by a lot of other people in the past. I didn't know how to stand my ground and my truth.
But you don't even realize you're getting swallowed up, because Dave, you made a really good point before. You said a couple of months ago you watched Batman, the movie.
Yeah.
Tell us what you saw in that you didn't pick up before. Tell us that.
He's got Batman on now.
Yeah.
I know.
No, I watched Batman Returns, and after it was actually, I think it was last year, but after I learned all about the underground tunnels with all the children and stuff, and in the movie Batman Returns, the Penguin, his whole plan is to steal the firstborn child and keep them underground, and I don't know, do what with them, he's going to kill them, I think. But yeah, so when I saw that movie, and this is a movie I loved as well, and I watched it, I was like, I think that was actually the last movie I watched, ever, I was like, I can't watch anything now without noticing something in the movie about some stuff that's going on in the real world that I didn't know anything about until, last year.
Have you seen Dark Knight Rises, Dave?
I have, but not since it came out in the movies, and I didn't like that one anyway.
It's amazing, man. Go back and watch the themes in that. Economic collapse, blowing underground tunnels.
Well,
Batman goes missing. Bane with the mask. It's got everything in there. It's unbelievable. It's even got the Capitol riot. There's a big riot at the Capitol.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's got everything.
The Dark Knight, the Dark Knight with the Joker, that had Sandy Hook in the
It
map.
did have Sandy Hook.
Yeah, so that was really odd. I mean, what the hell is blatant, right? And Aurora, it had Aurora in Colorado, with the shooting was.
Yeah, that shooting happened in the Batman movie, didn't it?
Yeah, the next one.
Yeah.
Unreal. It's crazy.
It is bizarre just how much symbolism and how much stuff is actually in this
Movies,
content that we're just watching, and we didn't realize, we're just watching it, but it's all going in here, it's all going into the body. And then also, Dave, you also mentioned that Big Brother, because that's airing here in Australia right now, and you said that the symbol that they use, I mean, how obvious is that?
Yeah,
Big Brother symbol.
I asked Dale about that. I said, hey man, do you reckon? And he's like, yeah, absolutely, because it's blatant. It's like the eye, and then the whole tagline is Big Brother is watching you. And I said, do you reckon it's just a ploy to get us all accustomed and used to being surveilled 24/7? And he was like, yeah. And it hit me as soon as I saw it. I was like, that's what it is. Whereas even a few weeks ago, I didn't notice.
Yeah, well, Big Brother, it's George Orwell. It's it's Big Brother watching it. So it's like, it's in your face, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Big Brother's been out for since 2000 or something. Like, they've had that show for such a long time. So it's so,
but slowly conditioning people. That's how they do this.
Yeah,
that's how they
brought it back. Isn't it weird that they brought it back? Because it's funny, isn't it? I have a friend who actually won Big Brother in like 2004 or 5. I think it was 2005.
Huh.
Yeah, and we're in Thailand.
What are they doing now?
we were in Thailand a few years ago, and he actually got recognized, and all these girls were like, "Hey, were you on Big Brother?" And he was like, "Yeah, like 10 years ago."
Oh, really? But how was
Yeah.
his experience
Yeah.
though? Like what? Like was it good or?
Oh, I don't know. I would say
Oh,
so.
okay.
I mean, he was a celebrity for a while, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you still friends with him?
Yeah. He used to. Well, he lives in Melbourne. I used to live in Melbourne. We used to hang out every now and then. I still talk to him sometimes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. No, we only asked because he wasn't obviously invited into the club, as it were, being the winner of the show. I would have assumed that someone might have gotten their hands on him, and
Yeah.
maybe he chose not. I don't know, but
That's a good point. I don't know if he did or not, but I don't think so, because otherwise he'd probably still be famous,
yeah,
Mm.
doing
exactly.
whatever, acting or something, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Modeling,
that's
maybe.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, we've got the eclipse happening tomorrow, the lunar eclipse, 26. So, do you guys know much about eclipses? I know, Dale, you're into astrology.
Oh, yeah, like the basis. So this is lunar eclipse,
Yeah.
and then we got the solar one. Was it next week or 2 weeks after?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this is the biggest eclipse all year. And eclipses in the past, I've noticed for us, like you definitely feel like something does kind of get eclipsed out that hasn't been working, but it can take like 6 months or even more. Like these eclipses can last for like years after. So their energy lasts a really long time, and it's always based in themes. Like at the moment, it's the Sagittarius Gemini axis, so it's those themes. So if anyone watching, if you want to look that up, look up Sagittarius and then look up Gemini, and it's affecting those themes in our lives, and obviously on a world stage as well. So this is going to be, I think, the most powerful one for the year. So expect, like, I guess, endings of some sort that probably will play out over the next, I guess, 6 months for this particular eclipse happening tomorrow. And obviously it's going to be a lot about the truth again and shining the light on the truth. But it's also requiring us to be really mindful right now. Like that's particularly important because there's a lot of like angry energy going on, and people can just kind of maybe lose it because they don't understand the power struggles within themselves right now, because the astrology is all pointing to like there's a lot of like friction within, and you're going to have to make these decisions, and it's like a crossroads with destiny right now. So it's such an important time with the astrology that you kind of have to face these things that are coming at you to get to the other side, because that's what it's requiring of you. But to just be mindful of your feelings. Don't just go all out in a big rage, but just try to process the emotions and things, because there is, as I said, that adjustment and the shattering of belief systems, and what you thought is not real anymore. And everyone's going to be, I think, more and more and more people will have to wake up to at least that, because things are going to keep getting revealed. So my next question is to you guys, do you think, how we haven't really had that big moment? I sort of feel like something's going to happen now, because people have been talking about the Three Gorges Dam. There's been mention of flooding and things like this. And yeah, I definitely feel like a bubbling like around that for sure. And I think that something does need to happen now, because it's just, I feel like there's just too much pressure like down, like there's just been no release of anything. There's just like this real like heaviness. Do you guys think something actually is going to happen?
Sure hope so.
Yeah. You go, Dave.
Well, we've got a lot of rain this weekend, and that's on the 29th. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. I really do hope so, and I do trust what the psychics are saying, that something big will happen in the next few weeks and well into June, and obviously we're seeing that the whole narrative is being questioned now on the MSM. The doctor in America who's really famous for pushing the masks and everything, and the whole thing that everybody needs to get the shot, he's now saying that he's not sure if it actually did occur naturally. So
you're talking about the guy starting with the letter F, right?
Yeah, the little weasel in America.
That freak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do hope so. I think the narrative is falling apart for sure, and if it's the combination of that, and also everybody waking up in their own time, but also that we're all kind of raising our vibration. We're going through what we're going through now, and everybody's getting an upgrade. Some people may just not feel it as much as others, but we're all getting an upgrade in some way. And I think that's also pushing the exposure, you know, and the things falling apart and the information coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dale?
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like what you were saying, Julie, it's like, it's quite frustrating because it's been quite a lull for a bit. Like, but you know, in the last couple of weeks, there was so many little stories coming out everywhere without anything really big. And like you said, the guy that starts with F, it's all leading to him and Gates, with now Gates's connections. It came up last week. He was funneling money with he was meeting with Jeffrey Epstein around the International Peace Institute, and this connects Australia as well with Kevin Rudd, who was also getting money from them. But like, I think the main things to look out for now is like these audits. I still don't think anything's going to happen from them to start off with, but until it's reported in the mainstream media. It means Jack, because I go to work and tell people about these audits, and they're like, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's not on the news for them. Yeah. But it is exposing, especially now that they're going into Georgia more than Arizona, because these are the names that like Wood was talking about before, of like Raffensperger and Kemp and stuff. And I think some of these sort of players that aren't as well known could be some of the first exposed. But to me, it's leading towards what's his name? The F guy.
Yeah.
And particularly, what they're doing with gain of function, and even a lot of the stuff historically that he's been involved in that's starting to come out, and Gates as well. So once those two are exposed, then the virus is exposed and the jab's exposed. And once that's gone, then it gets to the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good points, Dale.
But they have to protect those dominoes. Like, if those dominoes fall, those two guys, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying before, we're actually we're running short of time. It's going to cut us off again, so we'll have to edit this out. But we're just saying before, why would anyone trust what a computer nerd thought about medical stuff? Like, why would we do that? It's like trusting a hairdresser to do heart surgery. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why would a computer nerd know so much about medical research? Sure, he's got a lot of money, he could fund those sorts of things, but really, why would we be putting our faith into that sort of person? And then, as you guys have said, that freak show starting with the letter F, he's been coming out, there's a lot more stuff around him, and I really feel he's starting to get exposed. So we shall see.
Why would we trust Rockefeller? Because Gates is Rockefeller. That's all he is.
Yeah. And we know who the freak show was related to as well.
Yeah. That'll be interesting when that comes out. Oh man.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
I can't wait for that one.
You could pick any one thing. Everyone will have something that's just going to, multiple things. They're going to floor them when they find out about it.
Yeah.
Well, I hope people have a reaction to it. I really, really hope they do, because if that sort of stuff doesn't shake people up, what will? You've got to have some emotion, surely, some feeling towards this. Guys, we're running out of time on this video, so thank you very much for joining us. It's always good talking to you guys. Like, we always have so much stuff to say, and we could talk forever, but we appreciate your time, and we look forward to the next chat. Hopefully some big stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about that soon enough.